Welcome to day 3 of Arch Madness. I'm Kelsey Frew. Nick Schultz is here with me, and he also had an opportunity to talk to Loyola's furriest fan. Let's take a look at that.
I'm Nick Schultz, courtside at Scott Trade Center at halftime at Loyola Bradley. I'm here alongside Loyola's mascot, Lou Wolf. Lou, great to have you here. I'm going to ask Lou a series of questions, and we'll see how this goes. So, Lou, got to ask you, who's going to win this game today? You got the Ramblers winning this game? You like the Ramblers, all right. What do you think of the band? Which band's better? You like the band of Wolves. You really like them like that. So, Loyola's going to win the title. Yes, he says Loyola's going to win the title. All right. So who do you think they're going to play? Do you think they're going to play Southern Illinois? You don't like Southern? How about Illinois State? You like Illinois State? You've got Loyola, Illinois State in the title game. It's quite tough for the player of the year. Is it going to be deserved it? What do you think of Porter Moses, man? You really like Porter Moses. Porter's the man of the people. Excited for the second half? He's predicted a big W. Lou, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the time. Back to you guys upstairs.
Game of the day was Loyola versus Bradley at 2:30 this afternoon. Here is Nick with me to talk more about that. So, Nick, what are your thoughts?
Well, Loyola had a strong first half. They came out scoring. Everything seemed to be clicking. Clayton Custer was finding his groove again after having a rough couple games. But in the second half, it was kind of a different story. The offense started to sputter a little bit, and Bradley kept going, and the Loyola defense struggled a little bit as well, gave up more shots to Bradley than Loyola took on offense. But they were able to squeak by because Marcus Towns had a big game, and freshman Lucas Williamson stepped up later in the second half, had a couple key free throws.
Awesome. Well, you actually brought it up, or you mentioned it. Loyola was at one point up by 14 points, and then halfway through the second half, Bradley was only 2 points behind. What really happened there?
So as I said, the offense started to sputter a little bit. They were clicking in the first half. After the break, came out a little slow, and they just couldn't get the feel for it. In about 6.5 minutes left, Bradley was down 2, and Loyola coach Porter Moser called timeout. And from that point on, Bradley scored 1 point the rest of the game. And Marcus Towns was key in the second half. 10 points of his 12 were in the second. And as I said before, Lucas Williamson, that kid, hit a couple key free throws, and he played well overall, I thought.
RSL reporter Haley Spittler went to the press conference after the game.
After the game ended, I went to the press conference from Loyola's head coach Porter Moser following his Ramblers' defeat of the Bradley Braves 62-54. And man, oh man, was Moser one excited coach. This is the first time Loyola has advanced to the MVC title game since joining the Valley back in 2013. Now his thoughts on the Bradley players that they are tough and well coached, and he expected a fight in the second half, which they delivered. And his thoughts on his own players were two things: one, that they love being together, they enjoy playing time on that court, and they have fun no matter how close the score can get. And number two, that they have no finish line. They're excited to play tomorrow, but that is not where they want to end. For the Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Haley Spittler.
Well, tomorrow's the big game, Loyola versus ISU. This is for, everything. What do you think going into it?
It's going to be an interesting game, that's for sure. Illinois State is a good team. I've said the whole time, I think they can play spoiler. So if I'm Loyola, I'm studying them hard and seeing what I can do to beat them. I mean, it's going to be tough. There is history here. Porter Moser coached at Illinois State from 2004 to 2007, and it's kind of cool. Loyola assistant Brian Mullins, his brother Brendan is an assistant for Illinois State, so a little bit of a family rivalry there. So there's a lot at stake, and both teams have lengthy NCAA tournament droughts. Loyola hasn't been since 1985, and Illinois State hasn't been since 1998. So one of those droughts is going to end, and it's going to be a very interesting game. I know I'm looking forward to it, and I've talked to a few fans. They're looking forward to it as well.
All right, thank you so much, Nick. Also today was Southern Illinois versus Illinois State University. I have Claire Philpy with me to discuss that. So, Claire, what are your thoughts on that game?
I thought it got off to a pretty slow start. SIU kind of slept through the first half. They did come back in the second half. Going into the second half, they were behind 8 points. ISU really stepped up their game. during that first half. SIU came back strong. They really put out good competition for ISU, and they were able to close that 8-point gap and, in the end, forced an overtime.
All right, so it was a very dramatic game, closest in the tournament so far. Who were your key players today?
Phil Fain, he had a career high of 26 points. 12 of those 26 were free throws. He made 12 of his 17 that he took. A majority of those were in the second half. He did have a little bit of a rough first half, but he did come back and perform really well for ISU in the second half.
Right, and you also, after such a close and intense game, you attended the press conference for that.
After the game, I attended the press conference where ISU's head coach, Dan Mueller, talked about how they're going to defend Cameron Krutwig and Andre Jackson to help them get the win over Loyola.
So tomorrow is the big game, Loyola versus ISU at 1 o'clock at the Scott Trade Center. Claire, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, ISU's really going to have to watch out for Cameron Krutwig and Andre Jackson. They did dominate them during their final regular season game, and that's the players that they're going to have to guard. Loyola's going to have to watch out for Phil Fain. He scored 26 points this game. And a lot of those are free throws. They're going to have to watch out for the fouls, and that's easily where ISU will get their points.
All right, thank you so much, Claire. That's all for day 3 of the MVC tournament. Check back tomorrow for analysis on the championship game. Again, that is Loyola versus ISU at 1 o'clock.